All right, jumping right in, we're doing a deep dive today on some pretty profound stuff, like what makes religious faith tick. We've got excerpts you sent in from the Urantia book, paper 102 specifically, and wow, it gets right to the big questions.
Yeah, no kidding. This paper doesn't mess around. It puts a materialistic worldview right next to like the perspective you get from religious faith. And the way it does it really paints a picture.
Seriously, you're telling me that part about the long and lonely night of eternal oblivion, that's some powerful imagery right there. But then it shifts gears pretty quickly, doesn't it? Doesn't stay in the gloom for long.
That's right, yeah. It goes on to say that even a little, like a humble act of faith, that can be huge, like a way to break through all that darkness.
Okay, so let's dig into this whole faith thing, because let's be real, it gets a bad rap sometimes, right? Like, it's just a blind belief, no questions asked. But this text, it seems to be saying there's more to it than that.
Oh, absolutely. It's not passive at all. This text presents faith as making a choice,
Yeah.
turning away from a limited view towards something way bigger.
Like choosing to see everything in color instead of just like grayscale. It's a decision, right? You're committing to something.
Exactly. And where it comes from, this text calls it a perfection hunger. Like humans are just wired to want more than just the material world, something beyond that.
So it's not about just saying you believe doctrines or whatever. It's like tapping into something deeper
Right.
within yourself, something that vibes with this whole idea of the divine, of a divine reality.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about getting yourself in line with this divine will. That's what the text calls it. And by doing that, you open up this different way of knowing things, a deeper understanding.
And that's interesting because it's like it's saying understanding in this sense, it's not just some brain puzzle to solve, right? It's bigger than just knowing a bunch of facts.
You've got it. And here's where the text gets really interesting. It separates scientific certainty and religious certainty. It even says, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, the more you get into science, the less sure you might become. But with religion, it's the opposite.
Whoa, hold on, that's quite the statement. How does it square those two ideas? Because they seem like opposites.
It's all about recognizing that science and religion, they're both important, but they're different paths. They're for understanding different parts of reality, different ways of approaching how we know things, different tools in the toolbox.
So it's not about saying one is right and the other's wrong then.
Not at all. They're not mutually exclusive, those two. Like the text explains, science, it needs your brain, right?
Yeah.
Observation, analysis, you break things down to figure out how they work.
Okay, so it's all about what you can observe, measure, actually prove. What about religion then? How does that approach knowledge?
The text says religion is about engaging with its spirit program of eternity. It's acknowledging that some truths, especially about, the divine, you might not figure those out just through science alone.
So if science is all about observation, analysis, that kind of thing, what about religion? How do you even observe something like faith?
Now, that is the question, and this text, it goes right for it. It's saying true religion, it shows up in how you live your life.
Yeah.
What you do, how you act, your whole vibe.
It's not just talking the talk, it's walking the walk.
100%. The text, it describes people who are really religious as, they're already plugged into something eternal. There's a peace about them, no fear, like they're totally in the moment. And people pick up on that.
It's like they're on a different level almost, right? Like they've got this source of strength, this wisdom that's just bigger than everyday life.
Nailed it. And the text says it's not just willpower or some positive thinking trick. It talks about grace being a big part of why they're like that.
Grace. Like something given to you. You don't earn it or anything.
Exactly. It's being open to receiving, to being touched by something bigger than yourself that lets you really grow in your faith. Bigger than just knowing a bunch of facts. It's like changing from the inside out.
So people can actually see this grace at work just by how someone lives. That's got to be pretty convincing, right? If you're looking for proof, seeing is believing and all that.
For sure. And it ties into how the text says understanding isn't just a brain thing. It's your whole being. It says trying to figure out like the source of everything, just using your mind. Way too limiting.
Like trying to understand the ocean by looking at one drop of water under a microscope, right? You miss the whole picture, how huge and connected it all is.
Exactly. And that's where this revelation thing comes in. The text, it says it's different from science, from philosophy, even from wisdom. It's like truth just unveiled.
Okay, now we're getting to the good part. How does this revelation happen? What's it look like?
Think of those aha moments, right? When something just clicks, deep down you feel it. It's not about more information. It's a total shift in how you understand.
So knowing something in your head versus really getting it, feeling it in your gut, is that what you mean?
Bingo. And it goes even further. This text, it says, revelation isn't just about knowing stuff. It's about freedom. It gets you unstuck from small thinking, from your own ego, and it shows you how you can, like, partner up with something way bigger than yourself.
That's a powerful thought right there. But we got to be real. The text, it doesn't pretend religion's perfect either, does it? I mean, it's been used for some messed up stuff throughout history.
True. Yeah. It's honest about how religion, it's powerful, so it can be twisted, misinterpreted, used for selfish reasons, even to hurt people.
So how does it, I don't know, how does it balance that? Saying religion is valuable, but it can be so easily messed up. How can anyone trust it?
I think the text is saying that true religion, the kind that makes things better in the long run, it has these markers. Love, compassion, wanting to serve something beyond just yourself. It's about, like, getting your actions to match your best self.
So believing the right stuff isn't enough. You got to do the right stuff too, right?
Exactly. That's where it gets super interesting. It separates religion from just morality. And it uses this great analogy. It says, religion is to morality as love is to duty, as sonship is to servitude, as essence is to substance.
Okay, I like that. But break it down for me. What's that actually mean, like day to day?
It's like this. Morality, it can be your guide, right? Tells you what's right and wrong. But religion, real religion, it gives you the why, the heart behind it. It turns doing your duty into something joyful, an act of service from the heart.
So morality, it's like the framework in religion. That's where you build the actual thing that lasts, right? It's doing the right thing, not because you have to, but because, like, deep down you get it, you wanna.
Yeah, that's a great way to see it. And that takes us back to that whole thing about certainty we were talking about. This text is saying the kind of certainty faith gives you, it's not about checking off boxes or memorizing a bunch of stuff. It's something you live, just deep down knowing, bigger than logic or proof or whatever.
Which, let's face it, that can be a tough one for people to swallow. I mean, how do you put this idea of certainty next to the fact that you can't, like, scientifically prove religious experiences the way you can prove, I don't know, gravity or something?
You're right. The text gets that push and pull between faith and reason. It doesn't shy away from the skeptical questions. Actually, there's a part where it just comes out and says, it's like, how do you know that I don't know? Like a reality check, right? It's like reminding us that just because we can't grasp something doesn't mean it's not real.
It's like trying to explain color to someone who's never seen it, who was born blind. They have no clue, no way to even imagine.
Exactly. We've got reason, logic. Those are good tools. But this text, it's saying those aren't the only tools. Some things, especially when it comes to the divine, you got to approach them differently.
Not ditching logic altogether, but admitting it's got its limits. Some stuff, you got to experience it to get it.
And that's where that whole leap of faith comes in, right?
Sure.
But it's not jumping into the dark blindly. This text talks about how religious feelings, they kind of evolve. You move from being scared of the unknown to this deeper understanding, like there's this loving, supportive something in the universe.
Like, instead of God being some mean judge, it's more like God's there to help you along, right?
100%. And it says that change, it's tied to how much we can love, have compassion, see the good, even the divine in each other. The more we grow that in ourselves, the more we can connect with a God who's all about that too.
So it's not just believing in God, it's like becoming more like God.
You got it. And that connects back to potential. Remember, we touched on that. We're all works in progress, right? And just like anything else, our understanding of God, that can grow too.
It's a journey, the whole thing. But how does that actually play out, in a religious life? We were talking before about how religion's different from just morality. How do those two work together, practically speaking?
$1 million question, right? It's about going from gotta to wanna. The text wants us to think about the difference between just following the rules versus acting from this deeper place, from love.
It's like going through the motions of a ritual versus really feeling the meaning behind it, right?
Nailed it. And remember that analogy. It's other. Religion is to morality as love is to duty, as sonship is to servitude, as essence is to substance. It's like putting your heart into everything you do.
So it's not just the what, it's the why that matters. And that why that comes from inside, from connecting to something way bigger than just us.
Exactly. And that's what religious faith can do. That's the power of it. It links us up to something that's bigger than our own egos, bigger than our limitations, and that gives our lives meaning. It makes you think, The text leaves us with this. If having faith is all about taking that leap of trust, opening ourselves up to what we can't even wrap our minds around, the fact that we can even do that, what does that say about how real this all is?
Makes you wonder, Ray, maybe, just maybe, there's more to all this than we can see right now. And those things, faith, love, that feeling of something beyond, maybe those are clues pointing to something amazing at the heart of it all. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.